You know from your own experience that if there is a refusal to accept responsibility, you lose your authority. When you accept the responsibility, even though you may feel inadequate in the situation, the authority is still there. The authority goes with the responsibility. Reject the responsibility, you reject the authority. Accept the responsibility and move in it, and you have the authority. Not because you thought you had it before, perhaps. You may have thought you lacked it because of the sense of inadequacy. But accept the responsibility and you have the authority. And you may handle it, consequently, on the basis of the tone which you have come to know. You really know what that is. So don't dither around, sound it. Don't say to yourself, well, I'm not just sure how the tone should sound in this situation. That is rejecting the responsibility. So you don't have the authority or the experience of the tone. Accept the responsibility and the tone sounds, and you know the authority. A question was asked by one of you, how big are you? We were meditating on this point before. Insofar as our physical forms are concerned, they're not all that big. In this sense, some are larger than others, some smaller, different shapes. But we realize that there is more even to the external manifestation than the physical form. There is the substance of consciousness, which extends beyond the form, fills the form and extends beyond the form. There are the levels of substance in this regard. Supposedly 7 such levels, of which the physical form is one. So on this basis, I suppose we could say we're 7 times bigger than our physical form. There are occasions when a person says, well, I just felt 10 feet tall. Now, that may be the fact. Maybe 20. Are you 6 feet tall? Multiplied by 7. That would take you up into the 40s, wouldn't it? Even from the standpoint of our facilities of incarnation, we're not just as small as we thought. But is that the gauge of our real size, do you think? That gives evidence of the fact that we must be bigger than what we create. We are able to encompass the creation. Let us not downgrade ourselves by assuming a false humility. If there is the inclination to say in any circumstance, well, I'm only one person, what can I do about it? you're at least one 40-foot person. And if a 40-foot person looms on the scene, I'm sure everybody would take note. And there would be a little hesitancy about contending. So let us be assured in this regard, partly because the facilities of incarnation are a lot larger than we had previously thought, but also because we who incarnate are any size that is needful. And we are capable of encompassing whatever is required of us, namely our worlds. We encompass our worlds. Let us therefore see our worlds from the standpoint of one who encompasses them, and not from the standpoint of some little human form crouching there who doesn't see much beyond the end of his nose. The human form is handy. We need it. But we need all the other levels of our incarnation as well, in order that there may be an adequate capacity of incarnation to accommodate us as angels. We do not accommodate our worlds merely on the basis of our physical forms. Of course not. How could we? But we are able to encompass our worlds because of all the levels of this machinery of incarnation, and because we ourselves as angels are capable of using these facilities of incarnation. And they are sufficient to do what needs to be done. Let us not accuse the Lord of making us inadequately. That is what happens when a person says, well, I'm inadequate. He's saying, Lord, you should have made me much more than I am. The Lord made each of us of sufficient magnitude insofar as our facilities of incarnation are concerned to encompass whatever is needful. That's the fact of the matter. We should acknowledge it and not try to shrink down into our little physical forms, oh, so humbly. And yet, of course, it is not a matter of arrogance either, is it? It's not a matter of brashness. There has been a certain amount of this within the scope of our emissary experience, a foolish brashness. No, we don't make a display of what we imagine to be our great magnitude. We let the facts speak for themselves. And they do, incidentally. By the way, we don't need anyone else to blow us up to size. If I'm speaking of these things now, it is not because I'm trying to operate a bicycle pump to blow you up to size. I'm simply speaking of the way things are. And we'd better align ourselves with the way things are, rather than denying the way things are and insisting upon the way things aren't. This is what most people do. They feel so insignificant that they have constantly to be inflating themselves to make it seem as though they have some significance and some authority. But how quickly the bubble bursts, doesn't it? Just a little pinprick will do it. We have size, magnitude, and the sense of the machinery of incarnation sufficient to handle incarnation. And we begin to know these things, and we begin to function from the standpoint of this awareness. Most people, when they look at the time when Jesus was arrested and subjected to all the indignities to which he was, most people look at that physical form. That's all they see. Well, certainly something was happening to the physical form, but was that all that there was to him? There was something so tremendous standing there that completely dwarfed the physical form. And what was happening to the physical form in that sense was quite insignificant to the machinery of incarnation. Because of this great form that was present there and known there by the one who was incarnate. Do you suppose it was so very difficult to permit that physical form to experience what was called resurrection? One might almost say it could be done with one hand tied behind one's back. We need to have a consciousness of our real capacity not merely of that little thimble which is seen by human nature consciousness. We don't need to boost our egos to make it seem as though we are something which we are not. Because the truth is right there. And we become aware of it as our expression begins to sound the tone of life continuously. And we find that tone reverberating in far more than our physical form. It reverberates through this vaster form, which is actually present, and which is being fleshed out as there is a generation of substance. I commented that there was considerable substance present during the time when you were each speaking here in turn, because each one who came up here brought far more than his physical form. There have been far more substance generated which fills out something much bigger. And we all have a sense of substance, we say. of largeness, really. It isn't just something hollow. We're not looking at a bigger form. We say, oh yes, there are 7 levels. That form must be considerable. But if it has no substance, if it's just hollow, it doesn't mean much. But because there is generation of substance, then this form, this larger form, begins to have increasing meaning. And we sense it with each other. But the one who incarnates is greater than the facility of incarnation. In fact, the facility of incarnation seems to become less, even though it is so great, just simply looking at it from the outer viewpoint. It becomes less as the angel comes forth through it, because the angel is so much greater. And we find that individually speaking, we all blend together in a larger form, which is vast in the external sense. We think of the numbers of people in the world as being great, and the body of mankind as being vast compared to what it was 500 years ago. But it's a drop in the bucket compared to the true stature of man. But that true stature of man is absent. It's just a space there where it should be. But as we allow in this body the generation of the substance that fills out the true stature of this body, then the stature of this body is far greater than the stature of mankind, the way it is now. And because of this, we're quite capable of handling whatever needs to be done in this rather small sphere of responsibility. We're no longer so impressed with numbers. This is what impresses people, isn't it? Numbers. Numbers of people, very often numbers of dollars. We're impressed by something different. It isn't numbers. Because as far as we're concerned, it's just one. Now that's sufficient. That's all that is needed. We see all these numbers of isolated people in the world composing what is supposed to be the body of mankind. But that is very small potatoes. From the angelic standpoint, because there is one who is much greater. We're not overly impressed with respect to the numbers participating in this ministry. One of the questions that we are often asked is, well, how many are there in your program? I suppose we have difficulty in answering, because the fact of the matter is there's only one. There's only one. And to most people, one would not be very impressive. But when that one is seen for who he is, and when his body of incarnation is seen for what it is, that is greater and more vast than all the rest of the population of the world put together. Of course, they're not put together. They're all scattered abroad. And there is very little substance. Obviously, the evidence of the substance being present, the true substance, is oneness. If there isn't oneness, then there's not much substance. Mention was made of the United Nations this morning. There's not much substance there, is there? Because there's no cohesiveness. There is no oneness. It's all separateness. People jockeying for position. Jockeying for position as individuals and also in representation of nations. Is that so great to us? We acknowledge the fact that it's there. But what we see as being great is the one whom we love above all. Not only from the standpoint of what he is, but from the standpoint of his body of incarnation on earth. Because this is fleshing out. Usually when those words are used, it's thought of in terms of more people. I'm not thinking of it in those terms at the moment. No doubt there will be more people. But more substance, more spiritual substance generated by the people who are present now. This is the important thing. If we have that substance, and there is oneness of the body, then the sound of the tone can reverberate through that body. And it will have effect upon those who are open to be affected. And we have a responsibility, of course, for the sounding of this tone, collectively speaking. And this is done in many ways, but one of them at least is in the extension of the sounding of that tone in a peripheral sense. Not that we moved anywhere. We stood where we are and sound the tone. But that tone will sound right out the periphery of whatever substance we have. And there will be those who are more responsible on the periphery, just as there are those who are more responsible at the core. But it's all one body anyway. You can't separate the core from the periphery. If the core could be separated from the periphery, then there would be a corpse, wouldn't there? That's what happens in the individual experience. We're interested in the true experience, not in the human nature experience. It could be said, I suppose, in one sense, that we believe in the resurrection of the body. That's one of the statements in the creed, isn't it? Christian creed, most creeds. The resurrection of the body. We believe in it because we are it. We're not looking at some body over there. It's right here, where we are. This is the body. This is the blood. This is the living form. Not only physical form, with just a few people, but a form composed of substance, far more than flesh substance. And yet it's not separate from the flesh substance. It simply extends through it and beyond it. And in this sense, there is a heavenly giant present on earth. We need to have a strong awareness of this so that we never shrink into a state of uselessness. We do not lay claims to anything as individuals, but we honor and respect the body. The body of the Archangel we've called this body. We would never, in anything that we do or say or think or feel as individuals, detract from that body. Our concern is that there should be the generation of more and more substance, that it may be filled out at all levels, not merely trying to grab more and more people as though that was going to make it great. It isn't that that makes it great. It is the quality and quantity of substance that makes it great. The stature is vertical more than horizontal. Even human beings are a little concerned when their stature begins to be more horizontal than vertical. Let us have a vision of magnitude. Magnitude of what we are in this one body. It is vast, entirely capable of handling everything that needs to be handled. The population of the world is incapable of functioning together. Well, we can take advantage of the principle then, divide and conquer. Because that which is to be conquered is already divided. We don't have to divide it. There may be configurations in that body where a certain amount of substance has been developed in various ways to allow that particular configuration to function in a manner that seems to be quite powerful in the human nature world. But how do you think that stacks up against the body of the Archangel? Obviously, such substance as may be generated beyond the physical substance is mostly physical substance, numbers of people. But such substance as may be generated beyond that only goes to a very limited level. Perhaps what we might call a psychological level. Where does our substance stop? goes presumably to any level, and we are concerned that there should be a sufficiency in this regard at every level, then it becomes easy to handle these seeming giants in the land who are pretty dense up here. Who have no idea really what they're doing, clumsily maneuvering around, trying to crush opposition by falling on it. That's about it, isn't it? Well, we're nimble on our feet. And if anyone tries to fall on us, they may find we're simply not there. There is great agility in the body of the Archangel. Agility and grace, grace and stature, and capability beyond anything that the human mind ever thought of. In this sense, we see clearly that as the body is there, as the substance is there, we have it made. Insofar as the Lord is concerned, there's no problem. No problem at all. But let us be convinced in our earthly consciousness in that regard, so that we may share what is present. It has often been said that all the provision essential has already been made. We begin to discover that it is the fact of the matter, not just a nice theory. But of course, all of us as individuals have something to do. Behold, I come quickly. And this is so when we let that coming be quick. Because we function on the basis of the true vision, which accepts the true responsibility, and which thereby lets the coming be quick. If we move quickly, then those who are going to share the movement with us will move quickly too. We don't have to go through all the rigmarole that may have been necessary for some of us at least to get us on the road, so to speak. Those old methods don't apply anymore. I was commenting to a few, I think, at the table recently, that there are those servers who are continually offering introductory material. Introduction has been made long ago. Long ago. Why drag that forward? It's completely unnecessary. It is used by those who do not have confidence in what is moving now. They have confidence in their concept of the past still. As I pointed out, there are all kinds of people who come to the services in the Dome Chapel who've never been to a service before. If I reverted every Sunday to introductory material, where would we be? It is introductory material at this level now. And those who have any openness of heart, they move right along with it. They receive what is offered at their own level of experience. Let us all have confidence in this, so that we can move for the Spirit now, with what is current now. Behold, I come quickly, like this. That's the way it works. We don't have to try to paint everybody with the same brush with which we were painted. We may have been dumb, but why lay that on everybody else? That would be rather a self-centered attitude, wouldn't it? Anyone who's going to come to the Lord must go through all the rigmarole that we went through. Nonsense. If we've done it, that's enough. We leave all that behind and come quickly. And as we come quickly, so will others. All on the basis of the sounding of the tone of life now. Through the body as it is now. And it is never one individual doing anything. Anything that is done by the whole body. And in fact, it is done by the Archangel, who is incarnate. And that isn't a little thing. That is tremendous. And we need to be assured, because we ourselves accept responsibility in the matter, of the magnitude of that expression. We stay put in the body of the Archangel. And all that is needful to be dealt with will come to us. We handle it intelligently, with dispatch. Behold, I come quickly. And so this presumably is the conclusion of these sessions that we have shared in this particular configuration. But we're not going anyplace. We stay put. We're all part of the same body, and you each carry that brilliance of light wherever you may be. And it is this that continues the cycles of resurrection for this body, transmuting the body, transforming the body, so that it may be a whole and adequate instrument for the incarnation of the Archangel and the achievement of the Archangelic purposes. Let us, in this moment, share a closing devotion. Our great Lord and King, we are humbly grateful for the commission which thou hast placed in our hands, first by reason of our incarnation on earth, and then because of the creative cycles unfolding by which we are enabled to play our part in the fulfillment of thy purposes on earth. We are aware in this moment of the magnitude of what is present, with which we ourselves are associated, that the living form of this body may rise up assuming responsibility with ease and naturalness, but doing all that needs to be done. There is no question but that this shall come to pass, because there is the acceptance in love for thee by us and many others, of responsibility in the assurance of absolute adequacy. By which thy will may be done in earth as it is in heaven. By which thy kingdom comes. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, now and forever. Amen.